everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Business Unboxed. You are here with your hosts, Kelly, a chartered accountant, and Cory, a business owner, and we also have a wee
and Luna.
Luna's joining us today, who is in desperate need of a haircut. So we thought we would cover off something that we may have briefly touched on in a couple of previous episodes, and that is Cory has recently invested in a new business, and that is called the Chocolate Post. And so we thought we'd actually take this opportunity to kind of discuss maybe some things around getting into a new business, since as it was already existing, and Cory has also had experience in creating a business from scratch before. So we might cover some differences between how Cory found going into something that was pre-existing versus something that he has to start from scratch, how the business is going, things that he's done to get it to where it is now. Obviously, they've only had it for a short amount of time, so potentially some of their plans for their future for the brand as well. So, to start off with, Cory, my first question is just going to be, how have you found entering and managing a business that was already existing versus when you created your first business, which you started from scratch? And what are some main differences you've seen in investing in a business versus starting a business? And he's still sick, so forgive his cough. I will try to edit it out as best as I can, but there's only so much a woman can do.
Yeah, sorry. Good question. So obviously coming into Unleashing Potential and now Chocolate Post, I've come into a pre-established business versus starting my own. So when you start your own, it probably goes without saying, you can kind of set things up how you want them to be from the get-go. I myself am somewhat meticulous with having things done a certain way and keeping things quite tidy. And so that's easier to do when you start off. Excuse me. When you obviously come into a business, depending on how that business has been running, there can be a huge variation in, how tidy it is or isn't. And so part of, I guess, my nature, and as is yours nature, Kelly, hence why we're doing something else together, is systems and processes. So, when I came into Unleashing Potential, I introduced some systems and processes. I made some changes with the structure of how we file, where we file files, where we store them, and just tidied up a whole bunch of back-end admin stuff that I just personally does my head in. So, it's, I guess, taught me that you've got to let go of some things. I can't possibly sit there and organize. Wait, sit back down here. You sit here and listen. I can't possibly, sit there and go through every file. This, Unleashing Potential has been going for 18 years. So there's 18 years of client files and data and folders and proposals and presentations and history. And when you have staff that come and go, they've got, there's just a whole bunch of stuff there. And I don't have the time or the resource, and it's not my time is not best spent organizing old files, even though it annoys me that they're not organized. It's just not. So, so you just have to let go of some things. Which I've managed to do. So you take control of the things that are currently operating, right? So you take control of things that are important. So, I went through and tidied some things up in Xero, got that all fixed up, made sure that our current clients' invoices were all consistent and set up correctly, made sure that their client folders and shared folders were all set up correctly and tidy. And then, some internal processes and systems like, our Microsoft account and where we save things and all those kind of things were set up. So, so you can go through and do some things and you have to leave things. Obviously, we've moved project management systems. That's far bigger of a task to do, quite big of a task. You have to, go through and back up your old ones, download the files, make sure they're stored somewhere, and then move them into your new one and make sure that's all set up properly and there's duplicates, and it takes a long time. But anyway, So you just have to manage what you can without hindering your time or the business or anything like that. So with Chocolate Post, how is it different? I guess it's a little bit easier because it's a smaller business. So, we've inherited their website, which we didn't really use. We kind of created our own. We had their files, which I'm probably not going to use most of. And then it was more about setting up, an email address and making sure that emails were all working, because that's the communication point for the business. So as long as we can receive emails from past, present, future clients, then it means we can still facilitate and communicate. and then and then we can set up anything new ourselves. So, which is what we've done. We've set up a new site on Shopify. We've set up a new system with Klaviyo for EDMs, and yeah. So also because the business was partly shut down, it kind of means that we can now take it over and kind of do what we want with it, because it's not like it's an ongoing thing, which is what we have done. Does that answer your question? I felt that was a really long answer.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, it's the differences between going into a business that's already existing versus going into one that you start, essentially.
Yes, yeah. So I mean, obviously, when you're starting one, you choose everything how you want to set it up. When you're going into one, you have predetermined things that you can't necessarily change. Like, we have Microsoft. I've communicated before, I'm not a massive fan of Microsoft. I'm not going to go and change the system just because I don't like it. That's the system we have, and that's what we've got. So you just gotta, where you can, when you're coming into something that's already existing, you can, kind of mold it to suit you. But you've kind of got to accept that some things just are the way they are, and let it be and carry on. Yeah.
Okay. So my next question is, if you had to start your business journey over again, but you had the knowledge you know now and you had money, would you use that money to start a business from scratch in the industry that you wanted, or would you look to buy an existing business in the industry that you wanted? If you could pick one over the other, what would you choose knowing that you know now?
So you're talking about Phoenix Rogue or Unleashing Potential?
Just whatever industry. So if you're just starting from business scratch, whatever industry you wanted to go into, you had the money, you could either use that money to start a brand new business in that industry, or use it to invest in an existing business that was for sale. Which one would you choose and why?
I don't think I would purchase a service-based business. For maybe a few different reasons. Like, I can start my own. The hard part with that is, you've got to form a client base. That's the biggest differentiator. So, I would, for a product-based business, you can't really have no money to start it, right? Because you've got to, unless you're doing drop shipping, which now I don't even know if that's still a huge thing or not now. Unless you're doing drop shipping, you kind of have to have any business, you have to have some money to start, right? If you're doing a product-based business, and when I'm saying that, I'm talking about, having your own stock, potentially making your own product or buying it off someone else. Unless you're doing drop shipping, you've got to have some money to buy some stock, at least at some sort of level. Minimal, one item to start off with, you've got to have something there, right? Other than that, I would probably try and avoid spending any money that I had, because I managed to start Phoenix Rogue with nothing. With nothing virtually. So you can kind of start a service-based business, I feel, with not a lot of money, and build it up to get where you want to go. So yeah, it just really depends. Like, if there was, so say Unleash Potential came up to invest in, right? and I had the money to invest in it, then now knowing the business that I'm currently in, I might look to invest in it. Looking at Chocolate Post, now that I know, what's involved, that would make sense to purchase outright. So if there's another
If you're
business
starting your
that's
own chocolate business, you prefer to buy something that's already existing. So you
yeah,
buy the clients, you've already got
yeah,
some not guaranteed income, but you've
no,
got some people that you know are already interested in the product, have brought the
yeah.
product, and so it's a wee bit easier to kind of started up with getting sales
You have
as
to be very
opposed to
careful.
starting from scratch where you have to work really, really hard to build that trust with the community before people actually invest in you because you're brand new, you've got no history.
You have to be very careful that you don't overinvest when you buy a business,
Mm-hmm.
because there'll be a point where purchasing a business, hold on, when starting one from scratch is cheaper and maybe quicker than purchasing one.
Mm-hmm.
You can have ads, and depending on the industry and ads and some other factors, ads can go a long way to taking a business from zero to friggin' hero or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so you have to be very careful. If you go and invest $100,000 in a business like Chocolate Post, for example, you'd go, well, what am I actually buying for $100,000? I can probably start one for like 10% or less of that, right? So it
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't really make any sense. So yeah, so you have to be mindful of both. But if I come across if I come across any business now that's similar to Chocolate Post, that would be an add-on service or an add-on product that doesn't take away from what we currently have, it would make sense for us to either purchase it if it's operating,
Yeah.
because they already have something established.
Mm-hmm. Okay, my next question is, because we're focusing on Chocolate Post a little bit more because it's your most recent one, what has been your favorite thing about starting, I guess, well, buying into like an e-commerce product-based business, and what's your least favorite thing so far about having started slash invested in and now having to manage a product-based business?
Um, I guess my least favorite thing probably, and it's not necessarily like a thing, but it's just having to work out how we get our customers back being engaged with our brand. Our brand's going to be a little bit different to the past brand.
Yes.
And so, the business had kind of semi closed down. And so there hadn't been any posts on social media for maybe a year. They hadn't done any EDMs for quite a significant amount of time. And so now we're starting up from scratch. And so a portion of our EDM clients are going to, bounce and unsubscribe, which is fine. So I guess the challenging part is we now have to work out what works and what doesn't work. So we have to push a lot of content out there and see what works, what doesn't work, what people like, what people don't like, what's going to resonate, and that just takes a bit of time to figure that out.
I think it's really important to mention at this point that, like you've just mentioned, even though, and like we talk about, buying versus starting a business, buying into a business that has existing clients, has an existing brand, and you buying into that, and the old owners exiting, or maybe, I don't know, if you're joining, it might be a wee bit different, obviously without unleashing potential. But when you're essentially taking over an entire business from somebody else, it's not guaranteed that everything that used to happen will happen under new management. There'll
Mm,
be people that were loyal to the owners of that previous business. There'll be people, like you said, where they might have subscribed and then they've kind of forgotten because nobody had done any posts for a long time. And now they're like, oh, somebody sent me an email. I'm going to unsubscribe. I'm not interested in that anymore. And you also, if you have big ideas of rebranding and redoing the image of the business, some of the clients that you used to have are not maybe going to resonate with that new branding
mm.
or resonate with the new messaging of how you want to portray the business under your management. So you can't always take it as like a guaranteed thing. Yes, there will be some people that will like the product and buy it regardless, but there is going to be a transition period, like you said. So I just wanted to let people know that, yeah, if you are questioning buying into something or taking over a business from somebody else, don't think that everything that they've had is yours guaranteed in the next financial year. There's a transition period, so you might see a slump for a bit before it picks back up again if you do it right, if you're handling it correctly and communicating that with your customers or clients.
Yeah, definitely. and then so the positive, I guess the positive is just the flip of the negative. So like, even though we have this database of people and the social media following, that we have to work out, what's going to work, what's going to engage, how many emails do we send. The pro of that is we have something to send to people. We have this group of people. We have thousands of people across social media and our EDM platform or subscriber list that we can talk to. So we can push them different content. We can try different times a day, different techniques, whatever, different frequencies, to see what works and what doesn't work. And we can kind of see live data. Like when you send an EDM, we're a partner of Klaviyo. When you send an EDM, you have all the right live data there. So we can see how many clicks, how many opens, how many bounces, how many unsubscribes. We can see how many purchases, how much sales we make from the EDM. And that gives us all the data. It's kind of the same with Google, I guess, or not with Google, with Meta. You can kind of see stats and insights on posts. So the fact is we can kind of launch the brand, and even though it looks very different and has a bit of a different offering than the old one, we have a group of audience that we can talk to, we can see data from it, and make decisions based on that.
Very good. And I guess my final question I have for this episode is, what are some of your biggest plans for the brand going forward? Like, if you want to tell everybody, you've obviously taken over this brand, what do you plan to do with it? What ideas do you have in the pipeline? How far out are you looking for the brand? And how are you going to change things up going forward? Because you've only had it for what, a month maybe?
Just over a month. So I think part of the conversation, when we purchased it, we had plans. So we knew before we signed the deal, when we were talking about the business and what we seen value in, we knew where we wanted to take it straight away. And so that's how we partly made the decision to purchase it. So the timeline will be, most of the things we'll be implementing this year, this calendar year. Cool. So we will probably look to refresh the brand at some point. And with that, update some of the packaging look and feel. We're also going to change the business model a little bit to skew to more towards subscriptions. Cool. So what that means is we will have a platform where anyone in the world, if you have someone that lives in New Zealand that is friends or family, you can jump online, you can send them an order, but also you can actually log different people's details under your account and set them up with a different gift box to send every year or however often you want. And so it's essentially creating a set and forget gifting experience for chocolate lovers. So if you've got someone in your family that loves chocolate, or maybe you're not great at remembering your anniversary or Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, Father's Day, birthdays, all those different events, if the person you're gifting likes a bit of chocolate, and most people do, then now there's going to be this offering where you can basically set and forget this gift, so you don't have to remember it ever again. You can go and log in your account, select the gift, select the address it's going to go to, the date that it needs to be there by, and set and forget. And so that's the biggest change probably.
For the people that aren't familiar with the brand, it is all boutique New Zealand made chocolate, isn't it? All different
Correct.
boutique New Zealand made brands. So it's a variety of brands, all based in New Zealand. So it's all New Zealand chocolate, but all different kinds of, well, you've got vegan and all different flavors, and it's all up and down New Zealand that you get your brands from.
Yes, we work with New Zealand chocolatiers that are more artisan chocolatiers. So the chocolate we have in our gift boxes you don't typically find in any supermarkets. They are more kind of niche artisan brands that have various different flavors. I've got a whole range of samples just there of completely vegan, dairy-free, soy-free, nut-free, dark chocolate with different flavors. So it just gives people a larger range of chocolate to choose from, other than your typical Cadbury's and Whitakers that you find in a supermarket. And it gives them the option to send it as a gift in a very gifty way. Like we just did a Mother's Day promotion, and I've sent our Mother's Day gifts out with beautiful red tissue paper, wrapped like a present. So it's an experience. It's an experience for the person you're gifting to. And hopefully we make it easy for both parties. So the giftee gets a beautiful gift that you've gifted them, and then we made it easy for you where you just can kind of set and forget. We charge your card and we look after that gifting process for you.
Perfect. Sounds good. So, yeah, we'll wrap this little episode up here. If you guys are interested in Chocolate Post, Cory, do you want to promo the website?
Yep. So thechocolatepost.com is the website. You can also find us at the Chocolate Post Facebook.com/chocolate post and Instagram /the chocolate post. Follow us on social media. We have a small selection of artisan chocolate at the moment after Mother's Day. So if you want to get in, have a look at those, and then add yourself to the list and you'll be updated with any new items that we add.
Cool. All right, we hope you guys have maybe learned a little bit about maybe some of the differences between buying into a business versus starting a business. And we will catch you guys in the next one. Hopefully Cory is better and I don't have to edit out any coughing. Bye.
See ya.